Denny Hamlin wins, but everybody is talking about the tires after Bristol, so let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, Denny Hamlin wins the race. This is the second race in a row that Toyota has won, and not only did Toyota win this, but they absolutely dominated it. Between Ty Gibbs and Denny Hamlin, Toyota led 200 laps. That's just between two drivers, and overall they led a ton more laps than that. Over half the race, I want to say, when you combine up all the Toyota drivers that led laps in this one. And the next closest guy for Chevrolet was Kyle Larson with 19. And then Ford had Josh Berry with 25 laps led. So absolute domination from Toyota. They have figured out this new car a lot faster than Ford. We see the raw speed with Ford, but we don't necessarily always see the results. So I know everybody wants to talk about tires. So let's run through the top 10, and then we'll get to the tire talk though. Denny Hamlin wins, of course. Martin Truex Jr. second. Martin Truex Jr. said he did everything he could at the end there, but he wore out his right rear tire. Brad Keselowski for the second weekend in a row. A great run for RFK, finishing third this time. Alex Bowman leading the Hendrick Brigade. The guy that is constantly on the hot seat finishes in front of all of his Hendrick teammates here with a fourth place. Kyle Larson, who pitted early on that last stint, made the tires last. He ends up finishing fifth, and he had some comments afterwards that we'll get into. And John Hunter Nemechek, he ends up finishing sixth. Good run for him. I think that's his best finish with Legacy so far. Chris Buescher ends up 17th. Another good two top tens for RFK there, so good run for them. And Chase Elliott finishes 8th. Ty Gibbs is 9th. And Christopher Bell, 20th. Ty Gibbs, of course, leading a good chunk of this race, but didn't seem to save his tires like the other ones. Him and John Hunter Nemechek both actually went out there and charged and ran as hard as they could. They weren't afraid to do that, but it didn't pay off for them for the win, but they do both get top 10s. Michael McDowell 11th with another solid run, and Josh Berry with a 12th. That was a good solid run that he needed. And then you got Chase Briscoe and Ryan Preece, the other SHR teammates. So in a reversal of fortunes, Noah Gragson has a bad race this time, and the rest of the Stewart-Haas gang have a good race. So that is that. And then Ross Chastain rounding out your top 15 there. Now on to bad race. Although Toyota dominated this race, 23-11 did not get the finishes that they wanted. Although they had speed, Bubba Wallace led some laps. Tyler Reddick was involved in a wreck early. They end up 29th and 30th. So even though it was good to be a Toyota, it was not a good finish for the 23-11 gang. Austin Cindric struggles continue. I thought he had broke his bad luck streak, but he back-to-back races, he finishes dead last race, and this race finishes 31st. So not looking good for him, and a bad race, of course, for Noah Gragson and William Byron. All right, now let's get to the hot topic that everybody wants to talk about, and that is the tires. And there, in this particular situation, are two separate camps. On one side, you've got the people who thought the tires were perfect and NASCAR should keep them. And on the other side, you have people who think the tires were absolute junk and they need to redo them, and this isn't racing and all this other stuff. So let's look at some quotes and some comments from both sides of the argument. Dale Jr. had a lot to say about this one. He said, "I loved everything about that race today. NASCAR, it's Bristol, baby." NASCAR legend Kasey Kahne chimed in, "It was fun watching a NASCAR race unfold like that. Much different than usual. I enjoyed trying to think how all the drivers were managing their race. Pretty cool." Then there was, of course, Kyle Larson, who got a lot of press because he said, "I hope we don't ever have to race like this again." He didn't like managing his tires, and he caught a lot of flack for it online. But, of course, he wasn't the only driver to say that, because from front stretch here, this is what Ryan Blaney had to say about it after the race.
Enjoyed the shit show.
Well, did you enjoy it?
No, I didn't have fun.
No.
I mean, what's fun about riding around, creeping around there? Can't run 50 laps unless you blow a tire. You got guys with blown stuff, creeping around the racetrack. I can't believe it wasn't an accident. Everybody blew a tire there before the last pit stop. You know what it reminded me of? Like, the first half of the race, it reminded me of, it was the Daytona fuel shape. That's what it was. And literally, we were 2x2. You're creeping around there, quarter throttle, saving your tires, and you just don't know when you want to go or not. So, they say it's brought the same tire, but that is absolutely, yes.
That's so, like, if you knew, like, people want tire wear, right? And then, so this is too extreme. But like, if you had a few extra sets, been okay, or does it just need to?
If you bring a new tire like this, they're going to deny they brought a new tire, but obviously it's different. You have to test it. Like, you can't just show up at the racetrack and run 500 laps with it. Like, you have to have a tire test. That's why we do tire tests. Or if you don't, this is what it ends up like. So, you know, yeah, we want wear and fall off, but like, you have to have an idea of how it's gonna wear off first, and that is at a tire test. You can't just unload something out of the blue and have what it was today. So, I don't know, I bet it was entertaining for everybody to watch. Yeah, I bet it was wild. You know, a little bit of a wild race, not a good way.
So there you go. Ryan Blaney had the most to say about it, I would say. He said, what's fun about running around there, hoping not to pop a tire? He also alluded to it could be a safety issue. He didn't know how they didn't have a caution with all of the guys at the end of that race blowing tires, and you know, how they didn't have a caution is beyond him and things like that. So he does bring up a good aspect on the safety side of it, but there is a little bit more to the story. But I even on the poll question in the live stream, it was about 50-50. I think 54% wanted the tire changed. I think about, 46% wanted the tire to stay the same. But I think that there can be a happy medium. But I don't think the tires are the only story. So Ryan Blaney did allude to it in the comments there. He said, if you give us time to prepare for this tire, that's one thing. But in his opinion, this is a brand new tire that they have never seen. Goodyear, of course, came out and said that this is the same tire they had. They don't know why it didn't lay down rubber. Yada, 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 back and forth. But either way, if the teams know that this is the tire going forward, regardless of what side you're on, there are some adjustments that can be made. So let's look at some further comments here. Dale Jr. again, like I said, he had plenty to say about the tires. The legend TJ Majors tells me they went over 70 laps on the final set of tires. He's never wrong about anything. Just ask him. Give these teams a week to adjust, run this race next weekend, and I bet they go 80 to 100 laps before concerns. So that is kind of where I'm at with it. If the teams now know that this is going to be the tire going forward, they will adjust the setups and the tires will last longer. So overall, I think Goodyear went the right direction with this. We do want to see tire fall off. We don't want to see tires blow. But are the tires blowing because of, Goodyear making the tires softer? Or are the tires blowing because Goodyear has had such a sturdy tire in the past that the teams put these crazy setups on there that absolutely abuse the tires, and that is the issue? I would sort of go with the latter. I think the team's setups have gotten so aggressive because the tires have had no fall off recently that the teams just get more aggressive and more aggressive with platforming the car for aero. And I'm not the only one who thinks that, because I think the best comment from this whole day actually comes from Landon Castle, so I'm going to read that. Today just showed that we've been in a roll stiffness death spiral for 20 years. Teams make the car stiffer to control aero, go faster, abuse the tire. Goodyear reacts by producing more durable tires. Teams react by building stiffer cars. Goodyear has to build stiffer tires, and on until we end up with a super stiff tire that we've seen lately, but not at Bristol. And that 100% is where I'm at with it. Goodyear makes a harder tire. The teams make a more aggressive setup to put onto that tire. The tires wear out. Goodyear makes an even harder tire. The teams go with an even more aggressive setup. So 100%, I think we've just been going down this aero platform rabbit hole, wormhole, whatever you want to call it, for such a long period of time that when you put a softer tire on there, it caught some teams off guard, and according to Ryan Blaney, just tell us you're going to have a softer tire, and we wouldn't have put these aggressive setups on. So depending on what side of the camp you're on, but either way, I think this is the right direction to go, especially for the short track package, which is what I was saying last week when everybody was like, oh, we need more horsepower. Okay, you can give more horsepower, but none of it's going to matter until you have tire fall off. Now that we have tire fall off, does the horsepower even really matter at this point? Because as you saw with tire fall off, you have comers and goers, you have people having to manage their tires, and it makes the racing far more interesting. Like I've been saying, it's the tire that's the issue. It's not necessarily the horsepower. So I'm glad that this actually happened back to back on these two controversies, and that's where I stand on it. But I'd love to know what you guys think. So let me know down below in the comments what you guys have to say about it, because I do kind of just want to see everybody's take on it, because this is just my opinion, and I love to read everybody's opinion because it adds more perspective and it gives just a more broader feeling of where the community's at. But yeah, that's all I got for you on this one. Wanted to get this one out here this morning, actually. So yeah. If you're first time visiting, would love to have your subscription. If not, I'll just keep making these things. If you're already subscribed, I appreciate you guys as well. And like I said, if you want to leave one down in the comments, it would be appreciated. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.